I was watching a friend set up his new 85-inch TV, and he kept bragging about how the cheap 4K panel he'd grabbed online looked great in the box, only to end up complaining a week later that the colors were washed out and the black levels were more grayish than black. It's a classic regret story. You see a low price, you think you've gotten a bargain, and then the viewing experience feels flat, especially when you finally sit down to watch a movie that's supposed to be immersive. That's why I spent a few evenings actually comparing a handful of large-screen options before I turned my attention to the TCL 98-inch QM7K series. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the thing that makes a 98-inch screen feel like a real upgrade over the usual big TV bargains is the combination of mini LED backlighting and the QD mini LED technology that TCL calls its Halo control system. In practice, what that means is you get a lot more dimming zones, up to 2,500 precise dimming zones, according to the spec sheet, and each of those zones can be controlled individually. For a living room that gets a mix of natural daylight from large windows and a few dim evenings, that level of control helps keep glare down while still punching up the highlights in a sports game or an HDR movie. I tested the picture by watching a recent blockbuster on a bright Sunday afternoon. The bright explosions stayed vivid without blooming into the dark background, and the darker scenes kept a decent depth that most cheap 4K panels would just crush into a uniform gray. That said, this isn't a magic bullet for every type of content. The TV runs at a 120 to 144 Hz adaptive refresh rate, which is great if you enjoy fast-paced gaming or want smoother motion in an action series. But it also means the TV's processor is constantly scaling content. For someone who primarily watches static news slides or simple sitcom reruns, the extra processing can actually add a faint soap opera look because the motion interpolation sometimes smooths out a picture that didn't need it. Switching the motion settings off is easy, but it's a step that casual viewers might not think about until they notice the subtle effect. Now, let's talk audio. The TV includes a Dolby Atmos compatible Onkyo audio system built into the frame. In a typical living room, you'll hear a broader soundstage than you'd get from a standard TV speaker, especially in the upper frequencies. I tried a surround sound test track and the overhead cues were detectable, but the bass response is still limited by the thin panel. There's no subwoofer to truly feel those low-end rumble moments. If you already have a dedicated sound system, you can just bypass the built-in speakers with the HDMI ARC or EARC ports, which the TV supports. If you're a buyer hoping to replace a full home theater setup with a single unit, you'll probably still want to add a separate soundbar or bookshelf speakers to get the full impact. You'll also notice the anti-reflective coating on the screen. In our test space, the room had a large window that let in direct sunlight in the late morning. The anti-glare treatment kept the screen readable without excessive backlight boost, which is a common complaint with large LED panels that end up looking washed out under bright light. That feature is especially valuable if you intend to use the TV in a multi-purpose room where you can't control the lighting all the time. One practical thing many buyers overlook is the sheer size and weight of a 98-inch display. The TV comes with a robust stand, but it still measures close to 150 centimeters wide and weighs over 80 kilograms. You'll need a solid wall mount, or at least a sturdy floor support, and the installation crew should be prepared for a heavy lift. If you're living in a smaller apartment, or a place where mounting options are limited, this could become a logistical hassle rather than a sleek upgrade. Who should buy this TCL? If you already have a spacious viewing area, think a dedicated home theater room, a large family den, or a loft with high ceilings. The QM7K offers a compelling mix of high brightness, deep blacks from that mini LED dimming, and a smooth motion rate that will satisfy both gamers and movie lovers alike. The built-in Google TV platform is also a plus if you like voice search and a fairly comprehensive app library without needing an external streaming stick. On the flip side, if you're a casual viewer who mainly watches YouTube videos or standard TV channels, or if you have a tight budget, you might be better off with a smaller model that still offers good 4K performance without the extra cost of the massive screen and the advanced dimming tech. The primary weakness I found is the handling of low-end content. When you play older DVDs or low-resolution streams, the upscaling algorithm does its best, but the large screen can sometimes accentuate compression artifacts that you wouldn't notice on a 55-inch set. That's a trade-off you have to accept.